Hi everyone, and welcome to Your Right to Know with Tony DeFazio of DeFazio and Ziden. You know, you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends, and you should be careful who your friends are because you could be guilty by association, and sometimes a joyride could turn into a family nightmare, and that's what we're talking about today, Tony. Someone is in a car or they're in a situation with a group of friends. They're innocent, but someone else is not, but they're in the group. What happens?
Well, one of the things that can happen in cases like this, and I've seen it all the time, is you have four people in a car and they're driving somewhere, coming from one part of the state to another part of the state, usually on the thruway, usually on 17. And what happens is the car gets pulled over for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, the police decide they're going to pull everybody out of the car and they're going to search the car. Now, you don't own the car and you've got nothing on you, so you don't really care one way or the other. But they pull everybody out, they search the car, and what do they find? They find a gun. They find drugs. They find something in the car, in the passenger area of the car. Whether it's under the front seat, the back seat, the side seat, everybody's going to jail. Every one of the four of you, five of you in that car is getting cuffed and taken to jail right then. Because they're going to be charged under something called the presumption. There's a presumption in New York that if you're in a car, and there's a house one as well, but if you're in a car, and there's drugs found in the car, or there's a gun found in the car, and it is not immediately identified, in other words, it's not on one of the four people in the car, then everybody in the car is presumed to be in possession of that, and you can be arrested and you can be indicted based upon that. So what happens is the four of you will be taken down to a local justice court, and if it's not in the area where you live, if maybe some other part of the state, you're going to be pulled in the middle of the night without a lawyer, because they're only going to bring you in inside of an hour, and that judge is going to set bail, and he's going to usually set high bail, because it's a gun, or it's a drugs, or it's potentially you're looking at state prison time. So you didn't do anything wrong, you just got in a car, you were getting a ride for whatever reason, and now you're all of a sudden in jail. Well, there are specific rules that then the court has to apply, and the district attorney has to apply, and you need to know those right away, because even though you didn't do anything wrong, the police and the district attorney's position is going to be, you're all guilty of this. We're pretty sure that one of you is the one that's responsible, but until one of you comes forward and admits it in court and pleads guilty, you're all going to go down. And we're not going to give anybody a break because we don't want to accidentally let the wrong person go. So that's going to be their position. So in that situation, you need to get a lawyer right away, because you need to understand that even though there's this presumption, it is not the be-all, end-all of this case. So you need to actually get out there and start fighting it.
So what happens in that situation with a criminal record, or does something go on your record, even though you were found to not be the one who possessed whatever it was you were stopped for?
Well, you're going to be arrested. And depending on where you are, your mugshot and your fingerprints are going to get put into the system. And that mugshot can very well end up on, if you're a very famous person, it'll be on TMZ.com. If you're not, it can be on one of these websites where they just put your name up, or you can be in the local paper, the Poughkeepsie Journal or the Times Herald Record, or even here on HVNN.com. It just happens because you've been arrested, and they will publicly release that information. They'll say 4 people got charged with a crime, 4 people were in a car with drugs. Here's their names and here's their pictures. Yeah. So that's going to be out there. But you've got to start fighting that issue, because there's going to be, in the same way that there's a presumption that you're guilty of this crime, that presumption is then going to go out into the public. That, well, they assume that everybody's responsible. But you need to start fighting it, because what happens is, even though you're arrested and your bail is set and you're taken to jail, they have to bring an indictment in New York in 6 days, 144 hours to be exact. And what will happen in most of the upstate counties is they don't go right to the grand jury right away. They'll do something called a preliminary hearing. And on the preliminary hearing date, you will have the right to have the testimony heard against you as to why you should be held pending this indictment. It's very important that you get your representation before that hearing, because that's a critical time. And you need to also talk to your attorney before that, because a lot of times the district attorney will put pressure on your lawyer to waive that hearing. But if you're innocent of this, you need to fight it right away. And sometimes the only way to do that is to get your own representation and get out there quickly and do that. But you don't have time. You have to move fast.
Yeah. All right, Tony, that's great information and great advice for parents out there. Know who your child's friends are and where your child is at every time, because you never know if all of a sudden your whole life turns around or their life turns around because of it. Tony DeFazio from DeFazio and Ziden, and this is Your Right to Know. We'll see you next time.